A Vin Nua's production, Hope's Nocturne, written by OPL Noir, performed by Carrie Storm. This is part 3 of the prologue, Silenced. A warning from the writer. Part 3 contains sensitive subjects that could be possibly triggering for some listeners. Listener discretion is advised. Anna, please remember to find your sister at assembly after lunch, Amelia admonished, glancing at the girls in her rearview mirror. Her mother's deep tones had snapped Amanda back to the present. She hugged her laden canvas bag. I should have suggested we run with his decrepit compass, she thought, considering that cost. While she got to go to the academy, and her mother got to keep her ice, her father was gone on another voyage. Looking up, she discovered that they'd arrived. Time and the surroundings had flown past while she'd been distracted. At some point, they'd lost the sun and climbed high enough that the cloud-covered sky felt low and heavy, almost claustrophobic. Trees that lined the road and blanketed the nearby mountains had their leaves tipped with red and orange color. So it was definitely colder here than in Autumn. Her mother's Precious slowed as they approached a massive stone fence with glass shards lining the top. Armed guards were posted in front of large black iron gates. Dressed in their battle dress uniforms, they looked imposing with their long weapons slung over their shoulders. I wonder if this is how panicked my great-grand ancestor felt, she thought. She realized she hadn't been used to seeing anything but the occasional peace officer strolling around Autumn. Images like this only existed for her on television. As she looked at the armed guards, her father's question echoed. What would you do if life, as you knew it, suddenly changed? How unfathomable it was that generations later, that need to prepare was still great within Dad. As they stopped in front of the first guard, his weapon at the ready, her mother retrieved her identification from her bag. After checking it against his list on his clipboard, he smiled, returned her identification, and signaled to the other guards behind the gate to open it. Are they keeping us in or others out? Amanda scowled. Or both. There were more of them when the heirs to the throne attended, Anna whispered, scooching forward. Rumor has it that a member of the ruling family is still in residence, so a small contingent of guards is still here. No one knows who he is, though, so that may not be true, Lily said. I heard that he's from an unofficial lineage, Anna said, giggling. Amanda scowled, surprised at the rumor and agitated by the observation. She thought she'd left that sort of nonsense behind in Autumn. Snapping her head back, prepared to object to their characterization, she paused, realizing she was just in time to see the girls huddled again, speculating about the boys. Identity imperative, she shook her head. They wouldn't have heard me anyway. Anticipation had her bouncing in her seat and openly gawking at the stone buildings. Row after row after row of U-shaped three-story stone structures stretched the length of the two-lane boulevard. The lichen-darkened and vine-covered stone buildings dominated the skyline. This was a sharp contrast from her squat, two-story, L-shaped elementary school building. We're not in Autumn anymore, she sighed, almost tearing up. Awestruck, Amanda gaped, fogging up her window. In the distance, to her right, open fields of grass were bracketed by goalposts, tennis and badminton nets, with a long, single-story building bordering them. That's where they keep the indoor sports and showers, Anna said, her head perched over the front seat. Behind it are the agri-science department and the animals. Anna patted Amanda's shoulder. Don't worry, you'll get to see all of it after, she smiled. Just remember, they'll only yell for about 15 minutes, she said, giggling. Amanda's head snapped up. What? Who's yelling? Her head swiveled as she noticed Lily shake her head. You didn't say anything about yelling. Anna panicked on her first day. Lily rolled her eyes, frowning at her friend. You're going to scare her before her day even starts? She scowled, turning back to Amanda. She continued, the sixth formers will greet you in the atrium this morning. They'll yell at all of you for about 15 minutes. That's all. She punctuated her statement with her hands up. Once they're sure they have your attention, they'll take your group around the school. Amanda breathed a sigh of relief. relief. I'm glad she explained that, or I'd likely have panicked too. I'll add that to the list Anna gave me. Do your best. Keep your head down. Don't say anything. Don't make eye contact. Don't volunteer anything, and be prepared from the word go, she cringed, clutching her bag closer. They'll show you to your classes today, and where everything is located. Lily smiled. A word to the wise? Don't straggle behind. Last year, they soaked the stragglers with one of the hoses from the Agri building. She laughed. Anyway, they'll take you guys to the mess hall. They'll have breakfast with you guys while they answer any questions you have. It's a tradition. Fun in hindsight, Anna admitted, smiling wistfully. I'd go with you, but no one but sixth and first formers are allowed, not even teachers. When her mother stopped the car at the top of the boulevard, Anna and Lily scooted out. Amanda noticed that each building had a courtyard at its center. After lunch, everyone gathers on the green. Anna pointed toward the field. I'll be next to the badminton nets. Meet me there. She then ran to catch up with Lily. After executing a hasty U-turn to the ire of her fellow drivers, her mother doubled back, stopping in front of the first U-shaped building and its courtyard. Okay, Dumpling, this is the first formers building. Amanda had started to hate that name, but her mother promised to stop using it as soon as she lost her extra belly. You're not coming? Amanda asked. Of course not. Amelia grimaced, glancing down at her. Sixth and firsts only, remember? She said, flipping her visor down and fixing her lipstick. Flipping her own visor down, Amanda checked her hair. She'd soaked it this morning, attempting to control the curls and tone down the red. Chin up, she admonished herself. Focus, and don't lag behind, she said, in an attempt to bolster her confidence. Satisfied that not a curl was out of place and that her hair, still wet, looked sufficiently dark, Amanda stepped out of the car. This place looked nothing like her elementary school. Stepping onto the graveled path that led to the courtyard, she slung her bag over her shoulder. Her white tennis shoes and socks gleamed against her blue uniform. As she squinted up at the arched sandstone windows and concave mansard roof, it finally dawned on her that this would be where she would spend the next 5 years of her life, maybe 6 if she worked hard and was invited back for advanced levels. Walking up the white limestone path, with the wind howling between the buildings and rattling the windows, she felt the gravity of the moment hit, and for a second her legs felt like rubber. This would be her first day within these hollowed holes, and no one walked beside her. No one held her hand. She wasn't a little girl anymore. She turned 13 last spring, was a teenager now, and was on her way to becoming an adult. With a shaky hand, she reached for the gleaming brass handle of an old wooden door as loud voices seeped from the other side. 15 minutes, and my new life starts with a chance to make new friends, she reminded herself. And don't make a mess of it like you did with the Sabines last summer, she cringed, remembering her baseless assumption about their relationship to Miss Sabine. Thank goodness there's no chance of them being here. She paused and scowled at that thought. Will I ever learn? Shaking her head at that baseless assumption, she quickened her steps. I can handle this, she said, squaring her shoulders. Challenge accepted. Stepping into the atrium and onto checkered marbled floors, she was greeted by chaos. Within the large space, and in front of gleaming alabaster statues of well-executed examples of the human form, young boys, presumably her new classmates, looked terrified. All were huddled in a corner under corbel arches, but some had tears streaking down their cheeks. Older boys, positioned inches from their faces, screamed at them. Girls, some of whom she recognized, were corralled in the center of the atrium, clinging to each other, while another group of sixth formers howled something about their ill-fitted uniforms. Relax, guys, she wanted to scream, to comfort them. Stepping further into the room, she intended to act, but remembered, turn over a new leaf. No more speaking up. Listen more. Keep your head down. Blend in. Moving forward, she intended to join the sea of blue-clad girls in the center. But 2 steps into her progress, she was halted by a sudden jerk on her braid. Pain lanced across her head, a sharp wrenching of her hair, head, and neck from someone yanking on her braid from behind. Immobilized by her fear and the iron grip of a foul-mouthed lech, she gagged as tears streaked down her face. Rage burned in her gut. She wanted to move but couldn't, wanted to scream, but air wouldn't move past her throat. And who would hear her cries above the others anyway? "This one's mine," a gruff voice declared behind her. The person who yanked her arm behind her back. His body was far too close for comfort. Panicked, Amanda shut down, freezing in place. "I thought they were only supposed to yell at us," she screamed inwardly. This has been part 3 of Silenced, the prologue from Hope's Nocturne. We hope you've enjoyed it. Should you wish to read along with us, or perhaps, like me, can't wait to find out what happens next, you can purchase Hope's Nocturne soon, wherever books are sold. Until then, you can listen to us every Thursday for a new episode of Hope's Nocturne. See you then.